They don't have any problem about confidence because they have interacted not just with only people of their age, same age, in artificial environments, with teachers giving them artificial information which cannot be integrated organically with their growing up, with their environment, with the problems that they face. And they have interacted with all sorts of people, from small to big, grandmothers, uncles, aunties, relatives, friends, and so on. And so they don't know what is this problem that people face that when they come out of school and they come out of college, and they come out of university, and still they are frightened. They are frightened. They are timid. It's not just Indians. The Canadian students like this, American students like this, English students like this, Malaysian students like this. Anybody who has gone through the system of 13, 14 years of sitting on a bench ends up in this terrified state. And when you compare them with these guys who did go through the schooling system and all, and you see the results, then you really know that what we are doing is something wrong on a phenomenal scale. Multiversities and the Learning Society's conference is set up because of the violence done to children by imposing learning systems on them which are not in tune with their soul, with their spirit, with their yearnings, with what they want to do. Because every child is born a genius. Every child is born a genius. Every child is born thinking out of the box. But in the end, through this elaborate system of 14, 15 years of indoctrination, I raised it once before this expert committee which sat last year, set up by the Government of India on higher education. What you're doing is brainwashing. Because you're not giving a child any opportunity to have access to any other way of thinking, doing, learning, being. You're not giving that child. You're saying, no, this is what the child has to get from the beginning, maybe from the years 2 years old, till 25, till 35. There are people who are studying at the age of 55. I don't know how many years. You don't give them an option. And one of the experts said, look, that's a wrong word to use. We are doing structured learning. It's not brainwashing, we are doing structured learning. I mean, the structure is fixed. And you can't depart from that structure. And if you remove that structure, then it's exactly like many of the people who come for these conferences. They get very upset. They say, what's the conference? But he said it's an unconference. But he said, no, but you must have an agenda. You must have speakers. You must have a lunch break. You must have this. You must have that. You remove a structure from any organism, what do you get? Look at an amoeba. Amoeba is an organism with no structure. But an amoeba is totally creative. It can eat any damn thing. It just has to enclose it. That becomes its food. It's got no structure. So when you come to a learner society conference, you have to be like an amoeba. To be able to develop something to replace the structure that is being demolished in your mind and in your ways of doing things, like the children. How many of you came here with anxieties about your children and were keeping eyes on them and seeing that they don't go here and who is he gone? And then what happens after 2 or 3 days? They form their own communities. They don't want you there. So why the hell are you going there? They're having fun. They're having fun over 5, 6 days where they will never forget the rest of their lives. We shouldn't go there. We should tell them what to do. They know what to do. Nobody's going to get hurt. At the most, if they're going to break a leg or so, we have all broken legs, we have broken hands, we have broken heads, we have broken, I can see my teeth all out. Fallen down so many times, no problem whatsoever. This is our issue of how do we deal with what they put up as a subject there. How do we deal with the anxiety? This is like a sort of a burden we have taken on ourselves to feel anxious about these kids. When you get a cold, then we all go into a spasm. And these are creatures of nature which have got evolutionary backing of millions of years. What is just 2 months of mothering or 2 years of mothering going to make? What sort of impact is going to make on that? You don't believe that if they get sick, they can get well. You don't believe that they should have a fever. Because if you got fever, oh, the whole world comes down. You may have this, you may have this, you may have this, you may have that. We don't understand why a fever is created by the body. A fever is created by the body, not for any purpose just to be suppressed. It's created for a specific purpose, so that it can get rid of whatever pathogens have come into the system, which are part of the immune system. You say, no, clamp it down, bring it down, make it safe. I must feel comfortable. I must feel as 98.4, and then I'll be happy. But actually, destroyed the child's self-defense mechanism put by nature millions of years. We've just got rid of it like this. And this is what we do with the learning exercise. We do the same thing. And this is what we do with plants. Now the new system of planting which is coming to the market called hydroponics. I don't know whether some of them will become the new. Every 3 or 5 years there will be a cycle, somebody will come out with something new. And hydroponics is basically supplying directly nutrients to the root zone of the plant, the water circulation system. The plants are just propped up in pebble beds and they come up very nicely. And they're getting a good market to sell all these products. And what is a plant in a hydroponic system? It's basically a human being in an ICU. It's basically an ICU. I mean, you feed the plant, you have a tube, just like you have people in these ICUs of one tube going here, one tube in their backside, one tube in their throat, one tube here, one giving them, nutrients, whatever it is. Exactly the same is what we are doing with our plants and what we are doing with our kids. We have manicured and we have homogenized them and we have taken care of every aspect of them and we have destroyed them completely. I was giving the example of mastikaj, people who are doing masti. I don't know whoever created this obnoxious term called masti, but it's really the gift of every child that they will act and do things and move and eat and sing and dance without any rules. Rules are for fools like us. Children can't have any rules. That's it. That's the definition of a genius. They don't follow rules. They follow rules, you can't get a genius. You follow the same damn thing that everybody else does. But the genius is one who simply looks at things differently, without any rules. And all of the schooling system is the imposition of rules from day one. One rule after another. And we give the simple example of language, which all of us break our heads over. Everybody knows, for example, in Bangalore, the children who live in the slums can speak 3 to 4 languages. They know Telugu, Malayalam, Kannada, maybe even Tulu. But when they go to school, they can't learn English for 14 years. What's the problem? Because when you go to school, we do learning by rules. And what is the rule? You learn by alphabet, you learn by grammar, you learn by all these things which have been invented by teachers who don't know how to teach language. And so we don't learn. The child, without any rules, without any syntax, without any knowing any alphabet, or how an alphabet looks, how A, B, C, D looks, or R looks, he's already within 1.5 years talking. I'm glad that the children learn to walk without experts. Because you have people with crutches, after 6-7 years walking about, how to learn to walk. But they learn to walk on their own.
What about learning to chew? That's also...
Everything. What I'm saying is, do we look at children as remarkable things that we have produced, some simply astonishing things that we have produced, or we look upon them as something to be a problem, sort of a vague wax that has to be put into some sculpted form, a piece of dirty linen which has to be put through a laundry automat to be coming out, nicely ironed, to be taken out somewhere. What is our imagery of children? Do we look at them as rascals? Means if you leave them even for 2 minutes, you can't trust them. There is no trust. There is no trust between parents and children. Parents don't trust their children at all. If I keep him out of school for 5 months, he'll be only playing video games. He'll be only watching TV. He'll be only doing this. He'll be only doing that. No, absolutely no trust whatsoever. How can you develop a relationship? What is the famous act of any child? They want to come and they want to embrace. This guy has introduced it for adults.
Like the roll cow and
yes. So he's just trying to say that I'm talking too much.
If you let Claud talk, he talks till 5 o'clock. We have experienced for many years.
Vivek wants to add to something that I'm saying, so I'm going to really invite him to do so. Please
Okay, can we make this from a monologue into a dialogue, please?
That will come. People will ask questions.
Otherwise, one guy keeps talking on a tangent. People are just staring at you. Let's kind of interact. Stop the guy who's speaking. Burn an idea. Get out an idea. Yeah, like that. Okay. Don't let us keep talking until 5, 6 o'clock. Okay, please. Dangerous. Okay, dangerous.
One question first.
So,
yes.
Claud, you said there's no trust with children, and I trust my children. I don't trust all the other systems around them, the marketers, the educators, the thing. So the only place I have control over my children, and I admire what you've done, which is if you retreat to a farm and you banish all the other influences that are out there to trap your children and guide them, mold them and all. But in an urban city, from the neighbors, from everything else, I had to figure out ways of protecting my child, who I trusted, but the influences are so, as you know, ubiquitous. They are resourceful, they are hungry, they are demonic, vampires. And so, I mean, if you have ideas on urban space, I know the topic is farming and children, and if you're in a farm with no internet, no TV things, then you can do a lot of different things. But in a city, what would you suggest, or what do people?
Yeah. Okay. We met in Delhi. I grew up in Delhi, Rajasthan and all.
We means he and
Not Claud, please, not Claud. And at 2021, we didn't like the world we lived in. So, what you say is absolutely right. We made a decision, some say foolhardy, but at the age of 21, we decided to change our world and make our own little world. And we took off. Even there, it's not possible to isolate yourself from outside influences. The village is far more intrusive than anything urban life can talk about. Everybody knows what you're doing, when you farted, when you peed, when you scratched. It's all public knowledge. And it all comes back to you, right? Maybe in urban setup, you don't have to deal with caste excessively. Rural India, everything is based on caste, religion. And for us, we decided when we got together, these two things will not enter our world. It was very difficult. In fact, the elder boy, Kabir, wanted to go to the village school. He went for about 6 months. I think in the second or third month he could recite the entire caste hierarchy. And how do you know this? Because they seat us like that in the bloody classroom. What am I doing? It's what you say influences you. You can go out there, have no TV, no internet. It's always there.
The world is a jungle.
The world is a jungle.
Oh, jungles are nice places.
Urban jungle.
Wherever it is. In the city jungle.
So
It's horrible.
one has to be experienced with our kids. In fact, we had adopted a girl who was 3 months old between the two boys. She refused to stay and learn at home. She wanted to be out there in uniform, school dress, everything. So the age of 8 or 9, she's been out. And she doesn't want to come back. She doesn't want that kind of life. So be it. Now, how does one deal with such influences? That is the picture that you need to talk about. You can't close it. You can't isolate kids. It's just not possible. Right? So I'd like to take a step back and talk about the term that we use here, unschooling or homeschooling, yeah, against formal schooling. Can we think about learning? You're not schooling children at home, because if you are, then you're doing something totally irrational, right? You are teaching, or you're allowing a child to learn at home. You're helping a child to learn at home. That's not schooling in the first place. The terminology is different. Yes, semantics is very important in some cases. In the same way, when you talk about anxieties, it's our anxieties that we put into our children. That has been our experience. Our fears that we then mirror it and deal with our kids like that. What fears did we have? You have to actually understand yourself and accept your toddler, your child as an individual, and accept your relationship and how far you can go when you go into teaching or helping the child learn. If you don't do it, society will anyway do it. Right? So what is worse? So if you do it, at least you're doing something good. What eventually happens and what the final result is, that is not in your control at all. You have to accept that. Whatever it may be, you have to accept that. So you can do your best. We have through the past 30 years, we had Abir when he's now 27. We had a lot of interaction with parents, with schools, with kids. One of the things that we have encountered always is our own insecurity. What will become of the kid? Right? Am I doing the right for my child? Now, we also went through that as parents. Let me say, the best you can do is to give your child the best chance to grow. And schools don't let your child grow. Emotionally, intellectually, in every way. Now, having said that, another step back, when you try to understand why don't you want to send your kids to school, is it because of what your experience has been? Or you can see there is something wrong? Now, it's a dog-eat-dog world out there. You all agree, right? No. Okay, then that is my impression of the world today. It's a dog-eat-dog world where from day one children are taught competition, right? We compete against each other, we compete against species, we compete against nature. Competition is ingrained from day one, right from the day Jack and Jill go up the hill, right till the day you get stuck in your grave or you're burnt or whatever. Competition. Where does one teach the children to cooperate? Then we expect an adult to then cooperate. Does that happen? It's just not possible. Just not possible. Everything is friction, everything is competition. In that world, if you want to homeschool your child, you have to make sure you teach the child how to live in that world out there tomorrow when that child becomes an adult. That is your job, to make sure that child learns, has the avenues, has the develops the capability of looking at the world and realizing what it really is, without putting your own insecurities in the child. That is what our experience with our kids has been.
Yes, please.
So I think the question was related to what Rajesh said, that I felt that there were only two options for me. I feel that either I literally go and be in a rural environment where there is no access to the toys, the internet, all of that. Because if she has access to that, then the learning can't happen. It's like she's going to go to
You
go
just
to
have to
that.
give or make it more interesting than that. See, kids, TV, right? If a parent puts a child in front of the TV, right? Watch this, I'll be back in half an hour. I have something important to do. You stay here and watch this. Or, game. Half an hour, I'll be back. Don't do anything else, just pay attention to this. I'm gone, right? Escape. Mind is off. Give the kid something more interesting to do. It's not going to do this.
Is it,
So-
is it required to teach the kids? Wouldn't they learn by themselves? I mean, to live in the world where others are there, the child who is brought up in a different way. Is it necessary as a parent to teach the child? Because the child has a capacity to learn.
No,
by
it's
himself.
not. You just direct the child.
Sorry?
The initial bit, yes, the confidence to look for, what is teaching, you tell me. Experience is also learning, no?
So it's not really required to teach the child.
No.
The child will learn by himself.
Absolutely not. But then the initial two steps. Yes.
Say that, I don't want them to be influenced by the outside world and keep them cocoon in the house. You are restricting them that experience of what is there. So if there is a difficult person talking in a difficult way, let them experience it. Let them see how they handle what is their impression and have a dialogue on those.
But you have to help the child understand initially, right? The differences in things.
You want to raise a sustainable human being that can survive whatever he or she is going to confront in life. You're not going to be able to predict what that's going to be. So, by the process of experience, like for instance, I want to be able to read that book. So then, let's sit down and read. Or whatever we consider to be the learning things that are required in learning that we would normally teach in school, they may not happen in the order they happen in a classroom or in a school, but eventually that's more or less what happens. And you have to have faith in the intelligence of your child, the choices that they are going to make. And yes, there are going to be things that you think that they need to know, and you will put that in their way and see how they respond. Each child, as you know, is unique. Right? So I don't think that it's a more of an organic process. It's not like I have to teach this. You don't need to worry about that.
Because when you teach someone, you tend to give your information based on what you have experienced. It may not be true in a few years from now. So that's what I'm trying to see. We do not consciously teach the child. That's my perspective. We do not consciously teach the child how he should live. He has a capacity to.
No, see, you teach the child how to learn.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's where your job is until there. And then you are a mentor. You don't sit and teach a child. Right? You help the child learn.
Let me just add here that there is no Indian language. There is no Indian word equivalent for teaching. To teach. doesn't exist in any of the Indian languages. Kannada is now what you call this Hindi that they create for Doordarshan. But Sikhna is the original word. And Vinoba Bhave was the one whom I read at that time. And he was the one who drew the attention to the fact that there is no word. What does it mean for a society which doesn't have a word to teach?
Any point if you think you need
You should
to
feel that.
contribute.
Yeah.
Can I ask him a question?
Sure. Ask him.
Yeah.
Yeah, also, I want to introduce Sumi's from Ahmedabad. Also with Shikshankar since the beginning days, and her. She has two boys. Elder one is 17, Kudrat, who's here. Again, the other one is around here somewhere too. So she also, I think this is interesting because a lot of the people, all the kids are older now, so you can kind of see over a long period of time. So I also thought she could share something as well.
So you have grown up in a farm. So when you go to cities to your relatives or friends, so do you feel you are left behind in something? No, or do you feel something missing in you?
Not at all. I actually feel that the lives of my friends are very mundane, very boring. I don't understand how they can actually live like that.
So because I interacted with a lot of
I find their lives very mundane and boring. I never could actually understand how a person or a child can actually grow up in the city. It's like, why would they do it? It's like, how can you do it? It's so boring.
Because I interacted with 2-3 kids who are being drawn up, those are shifted from cities to villages. They said the only thing what they missed was their friends. Nothing else. They were enjoying the time, they were very happy being in the village surroundings. But they only missed their friends. So did you feel that?
For me,
No, because you're born and brought up there, I think.
for me, I was always my own best friend. And the rocks, the trees, the plants, the animals, they were all my friends. So I had absolutely no shortage of friends.
But do you miss your companionship?
No, not really.
Girls.
Human companionship has to, that's like, after you grow up, you get to a certain age, you start to miss it.
So I think here it's related to you.
He is single, by the way.
All the singles. So yeah, I think the question is related to what he asked. For you as parents, you did it and that time they were kids, right? Or they were not even in the picture?
No, that time they were not in the picture.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's different. I think the first question that anybody asks, I think there are two questions that at least I get asked, is what happens to socialization as in meeting people? And then the second obviously is redundant here, is the exam system. What happens to exams? Then when they want to go to college. These are, I think, the two commonly asked questions to everybody.
Both your questions are very common questions. Every parent here who has come to us asking for our 2-bit advice or experience or whatever. Here you have to be clear when you're coming back to your question again. When you're helping your children learn at home, when you're so-called homeschooling them or teaching them at home, you're also creating a value system in your child. So you're not just helping the kid learn something, you're actually creating a value system. That's what I said there, that if you don't do it, society will. So why don't you do it? That is creation of the value system of a little individual. How that individual sees the world. So how do you first change your value system so that you can help your child not fall in the same trap or whatever you want to call it? So that is the answer to your question as to exams, this and that. That's part of a value system. How do you judge yourself? How do you judge a student? other than exams.